Okay, let us pray, please. Good evening. Let us pray. In Jesus' name. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me, please?
Dr. Kukigam, it's breaking. Your line is breaking.
Is she still here with us?
Amen. I think we have heard so let us continue.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for that wonderful prayer. I want to welcome every one of us to today's lecture. And as I welcome us, I want to recognize the group coordinator under the able leadership of pharmacist Folashade Olawal, a fellow of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. Welcome, ma'am. Special recognition to the fellows of PSN, fellows of West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacy. I want to recognize our professors here present, lecturers, deans, heads of departments, members of this team, other important persons and distinguished participants. All welcome. Please, if you're not speaking, mute your microphones. Thank you. We are honored to have you join us tonight. My name is Ini Obong Josiah, a pioneer graduate from University of Uyo. I went back to the same university years later to obtain a master's degree in pharmacognosy and natural medicine. So I have been in practice for over 2 decades. An assistant director with Akwa Ibom State Government Hospitals Management Board. When I'm not doing pharmacy, I am in the family life sphere, creating beauty for families as a certified John Maxwell coach. I have obtained
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ma. Candy, go ahead. Go ahead. Pharmacy Josiah.
other certifications in other fields of study as my passion. I will be our first speaker. Our first speaker is Pharmacist Ekedegwa Afe, a 2011 graduate from the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, a principal pharmacist in the full employment of the Federal Medical Center, Asaba, a 360-degree leader positioned to optimally impact his environment and team. Currently a master's student in the University of Benin, a member of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacy, a teacher, a member of the Association of Hospital and Administrative Pharmacists of Nigeria, and a member of PSN. He has taken several courses, workshops, and has attended professional conferences locally. Blessed with a lovely wife and 2 kids, he is a great father and a devout member of the Order of Knights of St. Molumba, Nigeria. We welcome him to take the floor as he will teach us tonight on drug shortages. Pharmacist Ekedegwa, please have the floor.
Unmute yourself, pharmacist. Unmute yourself, yes.
Thank you very much. I hope my slides are visible.
You have not started sharing them.
Okay.
Not yet.
I try to share them now.
Yes, share. You have the permission.
All right. Thank you very much. I would like to stand on. I was introduced. My name is Ekedegwa Ape. My topic today, I will handle the first aspect of today's topic, module 15, which is drug shortages. Okay, I'd like us to run with the following outlines.
You have not shared your slide though. We're still waiting for your slide to be shared.
Yeah. Okay, it's not still being.
No.
It's not still being shared.
Open it first, then go to share screen.
Yes, that's exactly what I am doing.
Okay, just take your time and do it.
All right. Okay, it's like someone else is telling me an error message that one participant can share at a time.
Okay, nobody's sharing now.
I don't know.
You're the only one that's sharing now. Nobody's sharing.
Okay, let me see. Try once more.
Okay, try it.
Okay. Is it not showing?
Okay, no.
Okay, let me run through the system again.
Okay.
I tap share screen.
Okay.
Is it shared yet?
No.
Can you? Uh-oh.
Dr. Ike, can you make him a co-host?
It's a glitch here. Let me.
It's a ghost. All of you are ghosts. All the speakers are ghosts.
Because I have the same challenge trying to share the screen. The other time you asked me to.
All of you are co-hosts now. All of you can share. You're co-hosts now. The speakers are co-hosts. Okay, it's sharing now. Yes.
Is it sharing now?
Sharing now.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for the glitch.
Yeah. Then go to slideshow. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Good.
So, like I said earlier, I'm taking the first part of our presentation, which is drug shortages. And
delicious nutrition that starts
like to run within our. After this presentation, I expect us to be able to describe reasons for drug shortages, to propose ways to reduce drug shortage problems, and to evaluate drug shortages, having in mind the potential safety implications. And let me introduce this by saying that drug shortages are a significant public health problem. It affects many stakeholders, ranging from the patient, which is a primary recipient of the drug action that we expect to get the benefit from
Your line is breaking. Your network is bad.
through the clinician, drug managers, persists if medications are not available for a patient. We look at it from the patient point of view and from the pharmacist point, short-term shortages. But what this presentation will focus on is the shortages that affect the whole supply chain or the entire nation. And let us start with what are drug shortages. drug shortages they may not be easy to define, but based on our focus tonight, we can look at it from the fact that first, the government have to recognize the data and so on and so forth. In Nigeria, what do we have? We have the Central Medical Store System, which was introduced in 1990 when we started implementing the National Drug Policy. At the national level, we have the central medical system is implemented fully. However, what we have here is that at the facility levels, the individual facilities supplement these supplies from the CMS with open tender system and direct purchase. Of course, at our level here in Nigeria, there is possible of local data, whether from NAFDAC, from the Ministry of Health, or even from professional bodies. We seem not to have any group or any corporate body looking at the issue of drug shortages as we speak. We will also try to look at the drug shortage have enough attention have been directed to drug shortages. Let's look at the definition. We have two definitions in the US, one by the Food and Drug Administration and Control Agency, which is the equivalence of what we have as NAFDAC here. And we also have the Association of System and Healthcare Pharmacists. There is a slight variation in tend to define a drug shortage as supply of clinically interchangeable versions of an FDA-regulated drug if it is inadequate to meet the current or projected demand at the patient level. Then the Association of System Health and Healthcare Pharmacists, they look at their own in terms of the supply issue that affects how the pharmacy prepares or dispenses a drug in or influences patient care when prescribers must use an alternative agent. From this two approaches, is more likely to, they always report a higher value. That is, they are more sensitive to drug shortages. While the FDA focus on, if an alternative, for example, if you have say, ceftriaxone as an antibiotic to manage an infection, and that infection is susceptible to, say, ceftazidime, any of the alternatives you have in the system, the FDA will look at it as though there's no shortage yet. Meanwhile, the moment there are issues with how the pharmacists prepare or dispense these drugs, then at this ASHP level, they now report it as so then let us look at what are the causes of a drug shortage. There is no single reason.
Can you put up a video so that your network will stable? Exactly. Can you put up your video?
Okay.
Put up a video so that your network will be more stable.
Okay.
Your video so that the audio alone.
Okay, let me look at it. I should mute my video, right?
Yes, so that you will more stable. You have a more stable network.
Okay, let me try to do that.
Okay, you may continue your case. Just continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking at the causes of shortage. This, like I said earlier, is complex and unknown and unpredictable. We only know a few of the specifics. This is attributed to the fact that manufacturers, they always shrouded their activities in secrecy, except they are compelled by regulators to divulge this information for trade reasons, for economic reasons, and also to protect their interests. Definitely, they have patency for most of their products. So, but it cannot be unrelated to quality issues and non-completely higher shortages with injectables. Then we look at also the roles of regulatory agencies, local and foreign. So when we want to follow shortages, is a good place to look at warning letters and inspection reports of local and foreign regulatory agencies, because this tells us that if there's non-compliance, a product may likely be mopped up from the system, or there might be recall and so on and so forth. We also look at global disease trends. Of course, is very fresh in our memory and stay with us. The COVID-19 issues, where there was total lockdown of almost all the countries over the world, and the importation for countries like Nigeria that depend heavily on importation, you see that there is likely to be shortages since the drugs are not coming from the expected source. Economic crisis like the trade war between US and China can also lead to drug shortages. International trade relations, trade wars. Of course, we know how unstable our naira is to the dollar. So forex fluctuations can also lead to this issue since we depend heavily on importation. We cannot rule out the role of corruption and artificial hoarding, especially in a country like ours where we have unpredictable and unregulated supply chain management. So let's all look at briefly on certain ways that we can look at how to prevent drug shortages. Of course, prevention is key. If you allow shortage to set in, the effects may be monumental. So we try to take preventive measures. By preventive measures, that means we have to monitor data. Then one way that we can help prevent shortages for regulators like NAFDAC to expedite actions for approval of new sites. And instead of doing regulatory inspections, we can use the method of advisory inspection, where inspections will be done ahead of time and advice is given and recommendations that will prevent shutdown of injection of certain products into the supply system. Sometimes the country also have to embark on, the government have to embark on importation to supplement local production, or in a case where there is no local production at all and it's very critical and very expensive, government can come in, like the case of COVID-19, this method of preventing shortage. Of course, you agree with me that with this plethora of issues, pharmacists have a lot to do in Nigeria. And how do we manage drug shortages? Advocacy, advocacy, advocacy. Advocacy remains key because a lot of factors come to play. Many disease sectors are involved. So communication and advocacy are the tools that we can use to galvanize monitoring and remedy to drug shortages. We have to build a healthcare professional team that is responsible for management of these shortages. They can be at the government level, incorporating professional bodies like we see in the US, FDA on one hand they monitor shortages while Association of Hospital Systems and the healthcare pharmacists also monitor on the other end. This, when consistently and transparently done, the government will recognize this data and work with it. Then decision makers in all sectors, both formal and informal, should be included. Communication
We lost him. Let's wait for him a while. The moderator, can you take control? Thomas is in the
Yes, I'm here. Let me quickly check on him. That's what I was trying to do. Sorry, please just give our first speaker a few minutes. I think it's network. It's a network issue. We give him just a few minutes to see if he can get back. Okay, trying to reach him, but he's not connecting. In view of time. Pharmacist Bello, do we move to the second speaker or wait a little bit more?
Let's move to the second
Do we
speaker.
still give him something?
I think we should move to the
Okay.
second speaker.
Okay. So sorry for that break in transmission. I'd like to quickly introduce our second speaker. She will be teaching us on counterfeit drugs. Dr. Mrs. Felicia Williams is a clinical and public health pharmacist, a trained and registered teacher in the Department of Clinical Pharmacy and Pharmacy Practice, a 1986 graduate from the University of Benin. She has a postgraduate diploma in education, an MBA. She also has a certificate in health planning and community health, a doctor of philosophy in public health, and she is a PharmD holder. She has published over 40 articles in both local and international, and she is journals, and she is a peer reviewer for journals. She has presented several papers in local and international conferences. She is a fellow of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, a fellow of the Institute of Corporate Administrators, FICA, a member of many organizations, including Pearson, NAPA, FIP, CPA, ACCP, ARBS. Her current research interests include pharmacotherapeutics, pharmacovigilance, and pharmaceutical care of HIV and comorbidities, including neoplasms. This epitome of beauty and great pharmacist will take the next 20 minutes talking to us about counterfeit drugs. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you so much for that fine introduction. I appreciate everybody being here. Let me try and share my screen. It's not permitting me to share.
You have the permission, ma.
Okay, let me do one thing. Dr.
Okay, you are using two devices. Okay, let me make you go. Okay, I understand now. Okay.
Yeah.
You can go ahead now. I understand. Go ahead now. Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Just relax and take your time.
Is it coming?
Not yet.
Okay, let me do this. Let me send it to you
Okay.
so you can share from there.
Okay.
I've sent it.
Okay.
Yes, I have. It's your email.
No, send to my WhatsApp, please. WhatsApp, okay? Anyone?
Okay. It's okay. I've sent it.
Okay.
I'll send your WhatsApp.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
Just for a moment. It's booting. Just give me 3 more minutes.
Please bear with us. We will be up shortly. Technical issues.
2 more minutes. Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Okay, now, yes,
Hello?
we see it now.
Yes, we
Yes.
can, ma'am. We can.
Yes, yeah.
Go on, we can.
Good evening, everyone. We're all welcome to this big public health issue. We are sorry for the delay, technical delay. I'll be navigating between 2 laptops to make it easy. As mentioned, our topic this evening has to do with counterfeit medicines. The learning objectives as displayed there, we are going to give a definition of drugs, understand the global perspective of counterfeit medicines. We will describe the magnitude of the problem. We will list factors that encourage counterfeit medicines. We discuss the implications of counterfeit medicines. We're also going to explain the anti-counterfeiting measures that are in place, and we'll describe tips that can help us to evaluate counterfeit medicines as laypersons. We'll look at the recommendations that can help us to overcome counterfeit medicines. Often when people hear that word drug, what comes to their mind is a substance of abuse. WHO recommends that for items that are used in clinical practice, the word medicine should be used, since that word drug gives the impression of substance of abuse. But what is the meaning of a drug? A drug is any substance that is used to modify physiological or pathological conditions of the recipient. It is the single chemical substance that is contained in the medicine that produces a pharmacological activity. A drug can also be seen as a substance or a mixture of substances that is manufactured, advertised, and sold. It can be used in man or animal. So drugs are not used only in man, and that is why we have veterinary pharmacy. And the purpose of using that drug or medicine is for diagnosis, treatment, mitigation, or prevention of any disease or disorder. As mentioned earlier on, we'll be using the word medicine from time to time. So what is counterfeit medicine? A counterfeit medicine is a medicine that is deliberately and fraudulently labeled. The intention is to deceive the recipient with regards to its identity or its source. Take, for instance, a drug that is produced in Nigeria and it is labeled as made in UK is counterfeit. A medicine that, take for instance, paracetamol tablet that is 500 milligrams, but on analysis, it is found to be 300 milligrams, it's also counterfeit. So counterfeit medicines can apply to both branded and generic products. It can also apply to products that have correct ingredients, but with the wrong quantity. It can apply to products that do not have any active ingredients, or even products that have insufficient or packaging material. As such, we have variants of definition, but according to WHO, counterfeit medicines refer to substances or that are spurious, that are falsely labeled, are falsified. And here in Nigeria, any product that is not registered by NAFDAC is counterfeit. If not, why would a manufacturer want to evade regulation? We have other terms that apply or that come under counterfeiting of medicines. We have substandard medicines or out of standard products. These are genuine products. However, these products do not meet the quality specification that has been set for them in the official monographs. We also have another term that is adulterated medicines. Adulterated medicines are medicines that are produced in facilities that do not follow good manufacturing practice. And as such medicines do not have the identity, the strength, the quality, and the purity characteristics that they purport to have. So we have different categories of counterfeiting. We have products that do not have active ingredients. We have products that have incorrect quantities of active ingredients. We have products that have wrong ingredients. We have products that have correct quantities of the active ingredients, but have fake packaging. We also have copies of original products, and we have products with high level of impurities and contaminants. Let us take an example to illustrate what I mean by the different categories of counterfeiting. We want to go back to our paracetamol syrup or tablet. Let's assume that the paracetamol tablet that is supposed to have 500 milligram paracetamol is now found to have talc or starch. On analysis, that product is counterfeit. Suppose the paracetamol quantity in that paracetamol tablet is 300 milligram. It is also found to be what? Counterfeit. Suppose that paracetamol tablet has aspirin. You know, aspirin is also an analgesic. It's also a counterfeit product. And if the paracetamol has 500 milligram, but the packaging is fake, the label is fake, maybe bearing the name of another company, it's also what? Counterfeit. And if that product is contaminated, it's also what? Counterfeit. What is the magnitude of this problem of counterfeiting of medicines? Counterfeit medicines is recognized both nationally and internationally. It exists in developed and developing countries. It can be found among branded and generic products. It's a global public health challenge that is so fast in growing after the economies that are found in prostitution, narcotics, terrorism, and armed trade. We have reports of 771 cases of substandard medicines that entered the WHO database as far back as 1999. And of course, these were from 77% of them were from developing countries. We also have a case of WHO receiving 40 confidential reports that says counterfeit medicines are from 20 countries, of which 60% are from developing countries. We also observed that 3/5 of 325 cases of counterfeit medicines had no active pharmaceutical ingredient called API. And 2/5 of artesunate, which is an anti-malaria product, had no API. Zagin, which is abacavir sulfate, was mislabeled as Combivir. Combivir is supposed to be zidovudine and lamivudine. Both medicines are used as part of the combination therapies for HIV/AIDS patients. Now, let us look at the implication of what happens with regards to HIV/AIDS patients as a case study. In the treatment of HIV/AIDS patients, the minimum number of medication they can take is 3. And they are taken from different classes of these antiretroviral medicines. Now, this Zagin, which is abacavir sulfate, is one of the treatment line. If it is now mislabeled as Combivir, now purporting to have 2 components, suppose a patient is given that mislabeled Zagin, which is purported to be Combivir and zidovudine and lamivudine, and the 3rd component is another abacavir product. At the end of the day, the patient receives 2 products, just 2 of 3. And that 2 products will lead to high toxicity because it's receiving the double dose of that abacavir sulfate. And remember that the treatment guidelines says the patient should receive 3 products. at the end of the day, we'll have complications, as we're going to see, with regards to the consequences of counterfeiting medicines. It has been reported that most of the counterfeited medicines are antimicrobials. We have a situation where FDA found counterfeit cilias, which is a product that is used for erectile dysfunction, that was purchased by a single consumer from the internet pharmacy in 2015. FDA also found counterfeit version of Botox, which is a product that is used for muscular condition, that was sold by unlicensed foreign supplier. We have a case of Avastin, which is an anti-cancer medication that had no active pharmaceutical ingredients. As far back as 2012, Viagra and Cialis was also counterfeited in 2012. We have Truvada also and Viret, which are anti-retroviral medicines, along with Zidovudin, that were also counterfeited as far back as 2012. And the list goes on. They will have metacafine that was counterfeited in 2009. And of course, no active pharmaceutical ingredient was found in them. So what is the burden of this counterfeiting medicine with regards to death casualties? In 1999, 30 persons were reported dead after they took anti-counterfeit anti-malaria in a country in Asia. These are reported cases. Of course, sometimes when patients die, they attribute it to other causes. 89% persons also died in a case where counterfeit cough syrup was used in a country in North America. And 109 children were reported dead in 1990 after the use of paracetamol syrup. Other cases of casualties also involved 2,500 patients or persons that died after receiving meningitis vaccine in an African country. And the list goes on and on. That shows the extent, the problem, the public health crisis that is caused by counterfeiting of medicines. And of course, what are the sources of this counterfeiting of medicines? We have unlicensed or foreign suppliers. We have unlicensed internet pharmacies. We have internet shops, unlicensed pharmacies, unauthorized pharmacy shops. We have quacks, and even non-pharmacy outlets that try to sell medicine. Now, what are the factors that encourage counterfeiting of medicines? Poverty is one. Because healthcare is becoming very expensive, individuals who cannot really afford quality healthcare tend to resort to buying cheaper drugs. And sometimes some of these cheap drugs are counterfeited. We also have a situation where high remuneration trade in counterfeiting. Why is that so? Because the counterfeiters do not spend money on R&D, that's research and development. They do not have the facility requirements by the regulatory bodies to ensure that those medicines are produced according to the specifications in the pharmacopoeia. We also have lack of cooperation between stakeholders. All of us are stakeholders with regards to counterfeiting of medicines. We have the public, we have the patient, we have the prescribers. All of us are stakeholders. Imagine there's a tip-off that a product is counterfeited. The usual reaction will be, I don't want to be involved, though. It is not from me, they will hear there's counterfeiting. But if we do cooperate, definitely, the issue of counterfeiting can be stemmed down. We also have low availability of testing facilities. If I may ask, how many public laboratories do we have in this country that are responsible for testing our medicines? We have availability and accessibility of advanced technology. How can that be a factor that encourages counterfeiting? As far back, let's say about 10 years ago, individuals that have means of communication, telephone, were very, very few. But within the four walls of one's room, one can make arrangement for a product to be made, meeting up with the specification as desired. And we'll have technologies that can be used for production of labels. So Technology is also contributing to counterfeiting of medicines. What are the implications of this counterfeiting of medicines? We have public health crisis. The example I gave earlier on would help us to appreciate how serious the issue of counterfeiting is. When we have counterfeiting, it can lead to adverse drug reaction. It can also lead to a situation where the product does not produce the desired therapeutic effect. And as a result, it will lead to increased morbidity and mortality. There's also threats to national and international security. Why is that the case? Usually, money that is gotten from counterfeiting of medicines can be used to support or encourage crime. We have negative economic impact of counterfeiting of medicines. How is that so? The individual that has invested so much in R&D to make sure that the product comes out, by the time it's counterfeited, you find that the original product will expire on the shelf. And as a result, the individual will lose huge amount of money. Then a patient that is using counterfeited medicine will definitely not recover properly because the medication is not producing the desired therapeutic effect. And as a result, the patient may have to either stay longer in the hospital if the patient is hospitalized, or may even have to be hospitalized because there is no improvement in the health of the patient. There's also intellectual property rights. Individuals that have invested in R&D have a right to make sure that that product is not counterfeited, but counterfeiters violate the intellectual property right. So what are some anti-counterfeiting measures that are put in place to ensure that products are not counterfeited? We have tamper evident or tamper resistant pack. If you buy any paracetamol syrup, you will observe that before you can have access to that syrup, you have to break a seal. That is an evidence of tamper proof. Sometimes those products are also shrink wrapped to ensure that before one accesses the bottle of that paracetamol, you have to break a nylon, a polythene. That is an anti-counterfeiting measure. We also have holograms. Products can carry holograms. And we have what is called MP degree. You observe that there are some medicines have this panel. When you scratch it, a code is seen that is sent to a particular database, and you have a response whether the product is genuine or it is fake. You also have a true scan that can be placed before the product, and immediately you can have a response whether the product is genuine or fake. We also have laboratories that can be used to authenticate products, whether they are genuine or fake. Then we have MedSafe. And what does this MedSafe do? It links manufacturers directly to hospitals and pharmacies to ensure that the products they are buying are safe and cost-effective. We also have the Prescript All and True Spec Africa. What it does is that it has an intelligent, artificial intelligence powered scanner that when you scan the product information, it now compares it with a database and we'll be able to know whether the product is fake or is authentic. We also have a FD detector that is able to detect whether the product is fake or genuine at the point of purchase. Also, WHO has collaborated with African Union to ensure that health coverage is improved across Africa. And we have a current development of African Medicine Agency. The purpose is that it's going to regulate all medical products in Africa. Then we have some simple tips that we can use to evaluate products and detect whether it is counterfeit or not. For instance, you can look at the packaging of the product. Is the product's packaging good? Is it of good condition? Is it elegant? Is the label very legible? Then we have to also look at the security seals. Have they been tampered with? We want to also check the date markings, the batch numbers, to ensure that the batch numbers and the date markings in the internal or the external packagings are the same, they tally. If there's any change, then we should suspect that there's counterfeiting of that product. And if we have access to the product itself, let's say a tablet, we want to look at the color, the usual color that's associated with that product. We want to look at the shape. These are some of the simple tips you can carry out to find out whether a product is counterfeited or it is genuine. Now, what can we do as individuals, as community, as the public in general to ensure that counterfeiting of medicine is turned down? We want to ensure that there's appropriate medicine policies, and these policies should be enforced. Then judicial procedures and policies should reflect the seriousness of the problem and the offense. Sometimes these cases drag too long in the court, and before we realize it, because the offender is not punished appropriately, then they are encouraged to continue the counterfeiting of the products. There's also need to provide information on counterfeiting of medicines and their detection to non-governmental organizations and community-based organizations. Then the public should also be informed and educated with regards to the menace of counterfeiting of medicines. They want to also know where they can get genuine medicines and the need for the patients to inform their prescribers and pharmacists about treatment failures and adverse drug reactions. Other recommendations also include there should be improved availability and accessibility of public testing facilities. As mentioned earlier on, public laboratory, there's no public lab here in Kwara State that can really be used for product analysis. Internet pharmacy practice should be regulated through licensure, and patients, healthcare providers should ensure that their medications are purchased from licensed pharmacies. And if they must buy their drugs from internet pharmacies, they should verify that those internet pharmacies have accreditation evidence. In conclusion, we can see that counterfeiting of medicines is a serious public health crisis. It constitutes major threat to national and international security. It creates negative economic impact, and it violates international property rights. Healthcare providers can minimize the potential risk of counterfeit medicines by ensuring that medications are purchased from authorized sources. As individuals, we can carry out simple tips to detect counterfeiting, and all stakeholders should take proactive action to prevent and control counterfeiting of medicines. We want to remember at all times, if we do not act today, there's no solution tomorrow. These are my references. I want to thank you so much for your rapt attention.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I want to thank our two speakers for tonight. They did justice.
No, you will call on Dr. Pharmacist Zegbe to complete his own work. He has not completed.
Okay, so Pharmacist Ekedegwa, are you on? Pharmacist Ekedegwa, please, if you're here with us,
yes.
you
Unmute
can,
yourself,
yes,
unmute and complete your work. So,
complete your, all right.
Dr. Williams, can you stop sharing your slide? Dr. Williams, can you stop sharing your slide? Yeah.
Yes, I'm trying to do that.
You just click on stop share. Yeah.
How to do sign?
Okay, fam, you can continue.
You are muted. You have to unmute yourself, pharmacist. Unmute yourself, pharmacist. Okay. Masape, you are muted. From a cyber, you are
Let me
muted.
send
Can you unmute yourself?
him. I'm sending a private chat to him.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
I hope you can hear me now.
Yes.
Yes, we can. We can. Speak on.
Okay, so I was actually on the template for managing drug shortages. I was trying to say that we have internal data sources and standard data sources. We look at the electronic medical record system where the clinicians and physicians place orders to pharmacies. Then externally, we also look at public drug purchase, which is, then you also look at the enterprise data. Then we also have metadata too that we can look at risk that can be predicted from shortages and the current or future patient impact, and also the volatility. Then these are, like I earlier said, it is done through very coordinated and open-ended communication systems where all stakeholders will be allowed to feed in the data that will be properly harnessed to get this done. Then the impacts of drug shortages, we look at normally when there are shortages, that's when there is likely risk of medication errors. Why do we have this? Most of the times, physicians and clinicians are used to certain brands and strengths. So when you change them, they are likely to be medication errors. For example, if you have a strength of say 10 milligram per mil and you bring in another brand or another strength, which is say 5 milligram per mil. So sometimes because of the routine nature of nurses and other clinicians, they may tend to miscalculate and do medication errors. Even it's common among, it may not be completely, pharmacists are not completely exonerated from that too, because most of the time the work we do regularly seem to become inborn. Then when you also have to substitute sometimes similar trade names, especially in terrain like Nigeria, where you have branded generics. You have, when you say paracetamol, you have over how many, you have so many brands of paracetamol and names looking, sounding like other drugs, and even packages meant to resemble other drugs to attract patronage. So those are impacts, they create impacts. Then of course, when there is medication error, we are going to see delayed patient care with all the attendant problems. During stockouts, when there is shortage, you are likely to, the patient care will be disrupted and the expected outcome will not be achieved. We also look at ADRs, adverse drug reactions. Some patients may not necessarily react to the active ingredients, but other additives or inactive ingredients. We have seen so many patients reacting, developing ADRs to one brand. So shortages can lead to substitution, which can also go to that. So thank you very much. These are my references, and thank you for investing your time.
Want to say a big thank you,
Thank you.
Pharmacist Sekedegwa. And looking at our time, we'll take the next 10 minutes for questions, comments, and contributions. Okay, I see someone's hand up. Suleiman Ademola, please unmute yourself and speak. Unmute.
Good evening.
Okay, good evening, welcome.
I want to thank the two speakers. I also want to make a little contribution as regard to the first speaker. There is a silent mentioning of the pharmacist as one of the media or one of the causes of the spread of counterfeit drugs in Nigeria, especially our community pharmacies. I think it is better for us to emphasize it so that we know that they are also part of the problems. I used to know when I was in Abuja working in the community pharmacy then, there used to be people that call themselves freelancers. They are never pharmacists, but they always come with bags of drugs that and the prices are very, very low, which you cannot even get in the company of such drugs. And then we eventually we will have assisted in this distribution of the counterfeit drugs. And then because people believe in us, this is a registered pharmacy, and anything that comes out of it is believed to be genuine. So I think it should be bothly written that we are also part of it. And if no statistical data has been taken about it, I think it's high time we do so that we know how much we have contributed to the spread of counterfeit drugs in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you, Suleiman, for your contribution. Any other contribution? Just show by raise of hand and then we'll give you the floor to speak.
Thomas, can you stop sharing your slides? I can see.
Okay, from the chat room, no question, no comments, no contribution. Many people are saying thank you to our speakers for a job well done. Any other comments? Any contribution, any question? Okay. If we do not have questions, comments, and contributions, I'll call on the lead coordinator to give the closing remarks. The lead coordinator, please.
Good evening, distinguished colleagues.
Good evening,
You
ma'am.
agree with me that we've had a great outing barring network fluctuations, and it's been another learning period for us. I want to join also in appreciating the speakers for a job well done and to thank you all for making it a date again tonight. I pray that God continue to expand His knowledge in us and we use it for the upliftment of our practice and the benefit of the nation. Thank you all and God bless you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone who has come on board tonight. Thank you too to the participants, and thank you to our able speakers. We'll call it a day now. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Thank
you all
you.
for being
The slides and the recording will be shared on the platform. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
here. Thank you. Yeah.